First, we're gonna share with you Ariana's actual numbers for her first year of selling on Amazon, including her actual revenue, her expenses, her profit, everything, including what her product that she sells on Amazon actually is, which I know most people on YouTube don't share, but we're gonna try to be completely honest, completely transparent with you about everything in this video.
Yes, and then the second thing we're gonna talk about is the biggest mistakes I made selling on Amazon, and there were some big ones.
And if you watch any part of this video, watch this part because it could save you a lot of money selling on Amazon.
And the third and final thing we're gonna talk about is how I did it, because even though I did make some mistakes, I still made $6,000 in profit.
And she did that while traveling, while working a full-time job last year, and actually living and loving life last year. So let's get into her real numbers for her first year of selling on Amazon.
Yeah, sure, but before we do that, at the very end of this video, I'm gonna share my #1 tip of what I learned from selling on Amazon. Last year, I did about $25,000 in revenue with this one single product.
But there's a lot of costs associated with doing business. So revenue, again, is not profit. So the first expense you had was actually buying the units to sell on Amazon. How much was that?
That was about $6,000.
And then on top of that, there's fees for selling on Amazon's platform, including the Amazon FBA pick and pack fee. That's where you take your product, you put it in Amazon's warehouse, and when you get an order, Amazon picks it, packs it, ships it for you to the customer. How much was that?
That was roughly around $5,000.
And on top of that, there is the 15% fee just for selling on Amazon's platform. So the first fee is if you're using FBA, fulfilled by Amazon. The 15% fee is just for selling on Amazon, which was
about $4,000, I'd say. On top of that, there's a lot of other random fees when you're selling on Amazon. I had about $1,400 in those fees, and for PPC, it was about $2,000.
So after you factor in all those different expenses for selling on Amazon, Ariana ended up with a profit of about $6,000, which, how do you feel about that compared to how much revenue you did and everything?
Yeah, well, for the first time selling on Amazon and looking at these numbers, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, it's $25,000 almost in revenue, and then I only walk away with $6,000 of that. So,
and to be
surprising.
Yeah, but at the same time, last year I don't feel like you didn't spend a ton of time working on this business. So to make $6,000 for the amount of time you put in, how do you feel?
I think that's very true. I mean, I did spend a few months really trying to get the product up and running, and after that, once it was on Amazon, it was smooth sailing. So it was great.
On top of all this, we made some really big mistakes for her first year in selling on Amazon. So let's get started with the first mistake she made, which was ordering too much product. We ordered way too many units of product. We ordered about 2,000 units of Vino cards, which was a mistake. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the reason we did that was because once you order more units, the cost of the individual product goes down. So it made more sense to purchase 2,000 versus 1,000. It was just much cheaper.
It was, if we were to order just 1,000, I think it would have cost us about $7 per unit. How much?
Yeah, $7 per unit.
Where when we ordered 2,000, it went down to $5. But the downside of that, there's a lot of downsides. One of the first downsides is there were some mistakes on the card. So we're stuck with 2,000 units, very minor mistakes, but we're stuck with 2,000 units that have mistakes. You want to?
Yeah, so I didn't spend the extra money to have them ship me one of the products just to see how it looked like, which is a big mistake. So I would have been able to catch those mistakes, but because I felt very confident with the proofreading and everything, we ordered those 2,000, and then once I had the physical product, I noticed what went wrong. So now I'm stuck with selling those until I can.
And there's a lot of big lessons here. One of the big lessons here is there's going to be mistakes with your product. Ariana reviewed it so much. We hired a sommelier to review the product. She had friends look over the product, and she told me I'm 100% confident there's not going to be any mistakes.
Yeah.
And I told her there's for sure, because there's so much text on our product, I'm like, there's for sure going to be one tiny spelling mistake. So understand you're going to make a mistake, and it's not that big of a deal.
It's really not the end of the world. Like, now I know what the mistakes are, and I'll change it for next time, and people are still going to buy it, you know?
And one of the things is it costs a lot of money to buy 2,000 units, because that's a lot of money up front, and all those units are just sitting in her parents' garage, and luckily her parents let her put the units in the garage. But for the average person, that doesn't make sense. For the average person, I recommend ordering 3 to 6 months worth of inventory. And this is for a few reasons. One, if you make a mistake, you can change it, you can iterate pretty fast. Another reason is that way you don't have too much money out of your bank account, like stuck in inventory. Now, overall, this process was a lot more expensive to start than I think we thought it would be, but luckily, Ariana did run a Kickstarter to help pay for some of the inventory. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I launched a Kickstarter, set a goal for $5,000, and I surpassed it with $5,100. Yeah. And so that profit that I ended up getting was about $3,000.
It was about $4,000. Yeah. So with Kickstarter, you have she raised about $5,000 on Kickstarter, but then there's the Kickstarter fees, and then there's the cost of actually shipping the Kickstarter products. Right. But that helped her pay for her first round of inventory. And if we would have only ordered 500 units or 1,000 units, it would have paid for the entire inventory run, but we ordered 2,000 units. So overall though, launching on Amazon was a lot more expensive to start than I think either one of us thought it would be. Let's talk a little bit about that. What were some of the big expenses?
Yeah, well, overall, the shipping costs are major. So air versus sea shipping makes a huge difference. If you're in a rush, air shipping is going to be your best solution, but it will have a greater cost than sea shipping, which sea shipping takes about 6 weeks. So if you do have the time, worth the cost.
Definitely, if you do have the time, do the sea shipping. And right after this, we're going to get into how Ariana launched her company step by step, and we'll talk about all the costs associated with doing business in that section. But one other mistake that I want to talk about, and I think this was the biggest mistake that I made, is I put a little bit too much pressure on Ariana. I had a little bit too high, unrealistically high expectations. And part of the reason that is as some of you guys might know, I sell on Amazon. I've been selling on Amazon for about 2 years, and I make about 6 figures passive income from selling this one product. And I was so excited about this idea of this whole method for how to sell on Amazon that I wanted to teach Ariana, my girlfriend, and I was expecting her to be doing 6 figures. But the difference is, I was working on my business relatively full time. I've quit my job 7 years ago. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 7 years. This is the first entrepreneurial venture you've ever done.
Yeah, and it was doing it with a full-time job because I wasn't ready to fully commit 100% to it like you have.
And so she was only able to work a few hours a week on this company. So I'm really proud of her for only being able to work a few hours a week on this company and still making $6,000 profit, which obviously is not a crazy amount, but it's enough that she recently quit her job. Yeah. And so now she is going to be working on Vino Cards full time. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me too. And especially it was a long process to get to this point, but I did save up enough to be able to feel more comfortable with pursuing this full time.
And so to me, the reason I felt like a little bit of a failure, because I felt like I let her down, and I felt like maybe I didn't give her the correct step-by-step process or any of that kind of stuff, but I think it was just setting more realistic expectations. So I'm extremely proud of her, and let's get into how she actually launched her company on Amazon step by step. And now my process is a little bit different. I do not recommend doing the private labeling or any of that other kind of knockoff, boring type stuff. I recommend creating a passion product, and a passion product is something that you're passionate about. It's creating a unique product that does not yet exist and creating it. And that's what she did with her company, Vino Cards. Do you want to talk about your company real quick?
Yeah, so Vino Cards is a single product. It has a set of 50 cards with wine information on them. So it's all the essential information in flashcard form.
And this is something that didn't exist before, and she wanted to learn more about wine, and so she created it. My product is also another product that did not exist before. It was a premium nut butter product, and that's what I recommend you do. So the first step is really to come up with the idea, and we already talked about it. She came up with the idea because she wanted to learn more about wine. The next step, and let's talk about this, is creating what I call a product launch group, creating raving fans. And how did you go about doing that?
So Facebook is a great platform for that. I created a Facebook group, added all my friends and family, who then shared with their friends and family, and it became a group about over 1,000 people. Yeah. And on there, I share my process of creating the product, getting their feedback, and it really creates that community of, hey, let's work on this together. It makes them feel part of the product.
She also would use Instagram and post about her product on Instagram. And the whole thing is you get people into a Facebook group, get their opinions on how your product can be better. And then that way, when you go to launch, eventually the next step for her, when you go to launch on a Kickstarter, those people are really excited for you. And so she raised, as we said, $5,000 on Kickstarter. And then after that is where things start to get a little bit more expensive. And her first real expenses were starting with the business. So talk about some of the expenses and how you created the business itself.
Yeah, so everything before actually creating the business was just all word of mouth, getting people hyped up for the product. Now that we're actually gonna start manufacturing is where it gets more expensive. Once you have the business name, you can create a DBA. That was about $150. I also wanted to get it trademarked, which was about another $250. And the good thing about trademarking is that you can later on get brand registry on Amazon. And the reason that's important is because it'll create the credibility. You can really expand your product description and add photos to your Amazon page. So that really helps boost audience.
On top of that, there's other random costs with starting a business, just random supplies, sticker paper, just all kinds of weird random things.
About $100 or so.
Yeah, after you set up all the legal stuff, it's time to actually pay for the product and actually make the product itself. So talk about that.
Yeah, so I wanted to hire a designer to help me create a logo and the box design and the cards individually themselves. So that was about $2,000, and he really helped me through everything.
He did everything, yeah.
Iterations upon iterations, so that was really great, worth the cost. Next, I had to hire a sommelier because I am not knowledgeable in the wine industry, and I did want to make sure I had the most accurate
Proofread
facts.
everything, yeah.
Absolutely. So on Upwork, I hired a sommelier, and that was about $100.
Yep. On top of that, there was manufacturing the product itself, which was about $11,000.
Yeah.
And then we have the shipping. And one important thing we haven't mentioned yet is there's a $400 bond for shipping. So if you want to do sea shipping, you have to pay $100 or $400 just to do the sea shipping. And then of course there's the cost of the sea shipping and the air shipping as well. So those are all the different costs associated with selling on Amazon that nobody tells you about. But once you have your product manufactured, you're ready to finally launch it on Amazon. And this is the big moment. We were so excited. It was literally 1 year ago, like exactly 1 year ago today, that Ariana launched her product on Amazon. You want to talk about what was your strategy? And this is the same strategy I used for launching on Amazon.
Yeah, it was mainly all social media outreach. So I created videos, getting people hyped weeks in advance, and then a countdown up to the date. So people got really excited. I used that Facebook launch group that I used for my Kickstarter to get people hyped up as well, sent out emails. So really created that excitement for this product and just in time for the holidays.
And you want to do when you're launching your product, send emails to everybody you know, send emails to your you should hopefully have been building up an email list in your pre-launch sequence, which I talk about in other videos. Then you should be posting on social media, do videos, do stories, anything and everything you can do. You want to get as many sales from day one and as many reviews as possible. And what's going to happen is when you get a lot of sales on day one, that's going to spike into more sales and more reviews, and that's going to snowball into more and more Amazon success. So now is the big moment. Let's talk about what was the biggest lesson you learned last year in your first year of selling on Amazon.
The biggest lesson and what I'm so grateful for is actually having a mentor to guide me through the process, because I didn't realize how important it was to really build tension to get people excited about a product, and it's made all the difference.
I think this is one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my entrepreneurial journey is trying to do everything myself. Don't try to do everything yourself. Find someone that's already done it successfully and just copy them. And that's part of the reason why I took my Amazon FBA course, I condensed it down to 30 minutes, and I posted a video on Ariana's YouTube channel, which if you haven't checked out yet, Ariana has a YouTube channel. I made this video, it's a complete step-by-step guide on how to actually sell on Amazon, and you can get it for free by clicking right here. So click on that video, check out Ariana's new YouTube channel she just launched, and learn step-by-step how to sell on Amazon. So check out that video, we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.